Have you ever just stopped and thought about the absolutely wild variety of life on this planet? I mean, from a massive blue whale to the tiniest microbe you can't even see, everything has its place. But how do we organize it all? For centuries, this has been one of science's greatest puzzles, trying to draw a map for all of life. So let's get into it.
So let's just start with that big central question. Imagine I handed you a planet, just teeming with millions of different living things. Where would you even begin to sort them out? It's a huge task, right? And the answer to how we do it has changed a lot over the years.
And you know what makes it even trickier? Most of life is completely invisible to us. Take a look at this thing. It's called a dinoflagellate. It's just a single cell, but it's an incredibly complex little creature, just doing its thing in the ocean.
Or check this one out, a paramecium. It's also just one cell, but it looks and acts totally different from the last one. When you've got this much diversity on a microscopic level, how on earth do you start drawing lines and making categories? Where does everything fit?
Well, we've always tried. I mean, since forever, humans have been trying to classify the living world. At first, it was for super practical reasons, you know? What can we eat? What can we build with? And what's going to kill us?
The first real scientific swing at it came from Aristotle, who used really simple, visible stuff. But way later, in the 1700s, Carl Linnaeus gave us the famous two-kingdom system. You're either a plant or you're an animal. That was our first really popular map of life. But as we started discovering more and more, that simple map started to look, well, really, really wrong.
And that right there brings us to the main conflict of our story, the two-kingdom problem. The system was so simple, so intuitive, but it was hiding some pretty big flaws.
I mean, the logic made sense, right? If it had a cell wall and kind of stayed in one spot, like a tree or even a mushroom, it was a plant. If it moved around and had to eat stuff, it was an animal. Simple. And for a long time, it works just fine.
But then came the misfits, the weirdos that just didn't fit. Where do you stick bacteria? Their cells are fundamentally different. And what about fungi? Sure, they have cell walls like plants, but they don't do photosynthesis. And don't even get me started on things like euglena, which can make its own food like a plant, but also swim around and eat like an animal. The two-kingdom map was breaking. We needed a new one, and fast.
And this is where our hero enters the scene. In 1969, a biologist named R.H. Whitaker came along and proposed a totally revolutionary new system, a new map that would change biology textbooks forever. He gave us the 5 kingdoms.
See, Whitaker's big idea was that we couldn't just keep looking at things on the surface. To make a better map, we had to go deeper. So he started looking at really fundamental stuff, like how their cells were actually built, what their cell walls were made of, and how they got their energy.
Okay, so this chart right here is the aha moment. This is how Whitaker fixed the whole thing. His first brilliant move was separating all life based on cell type. He created Kingdom Monera just for the prokaryotes, the ones without a real nucleus, like bacteria. Boom! All the eukaryotes, everything else were then sorted by other rules. Fungi got their own kingdom because, hey, their cell walls are made of chitin, not plant-like cellulose, and they can't make their own food. And Protista became this clever catch-all for all the single-celled eukaryotes. It's just beautiful how a few key criteria created a much, much more accurate map of life.
All right, so with our new shiny 5-kingdom map, let's take a quick tour and see exactly how it solved all those old puzzles.
First stop, Kingdom Monera. This is the kingdom of bacteria. By putting all prokaryotes here, Whitaker immediately tidied up the map, giving these ancient, superabundant life forms their own special place, totally separate from everything else.
And this is the whole key right here. A prokaryotic cell's DNA isn't neatly packed away in a nucleus. It's just kind of floating around inside. This one fundamental difference in how they're built is exactly why bacteria needed their own kingdom. It was a simple distinction, but a profound one.
All right, next up, Protista. This is where Whitaker got really clever. This kingdom basically became the junk drawer for all the single-celled misfits. He created this catch-all kingdom for any eukaryote that wasn't obviously a plant, an animal, or a fungus.
And you can see it perfectly right here. On the left, you've got euglena, which can photosynthesize. On the right, paramecium, which actually hunts for its food. Before Whitaker, scientists were trying to cram them into different kingdoms. Now, they're together in Protista, united as single-celled eukaryotes. Problem solved.
And finally, the fungi got the respect they deserved. For centuries, they were just awkwardly lumped in with plants, but they are completely different. They are nature's great decomposers.
And here's exactly why they needed their own spot. Fungi don't make their own food from sunlight. They are saprophytes, meaning they absorb all their nutrients from dead and decaying stuff. Plus, and this is super cool, their cell walls are made of a tough material called chitin. That's the same stuff in an insect's exoskeleton. Totally different from the cellulose in plants.
But the story doesn't stop there, because if there's one thing you should know about science, it's that the map is always changing.
And this is the big takeaway from all of this. These classification systems aren't permanent set-in-stone rules. They're more like hypotheses. They're a snapshot of our best guess about how all life is related, based on what we know at the time. And as we learn more, the map gets redrawn. In fact, today, a lot of scientists have already updated Whitaker's map. Thanks to incredible genetic data, many now use a 3-domain system, which actually splits Kingdom Monera into 2, giving us a 6-kingdom model. The story just keeps evolving.
Which kind of leaves us with one last big thought. As we keep exploring the deepest parts of the ocean, and as our genetic technology gets even crazier, we're definitely going to find new things that challenge the map we have today. So the real question isn't just what the map of life looks like now, but what's it going to look like tomorrow?